think outside of the box when it comes to the customer experience after they purchase. Every single person that purchases from me gets a video welcome. I want them to know that there is a person on the other side of that screen that made that thing for them. I want them to see me. I want them to know that it's possible.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Joel Irway here, and welcome to another very special episode of Experts Unleashed. You are in for an amazing treat here today. We are continuing our series on our advertising series of people who are spending at least $5,000 a month. And today, I've got a very special guest, Rhonda Melogy, who is the founder of Business Command Center. She runs a low-ticket offer, a self-liquidating offer, which is really exciting. It's one of the things that I've been focused on for about 5 years, and she's spending anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 a month, and you're going to love her story. She gave me a little bit of a sneak peek as to what we're going to be talking about here today, but I won't ruin it. We'll dive right into the episode in just 1 second. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by GetInspired.app. Have you ever wondered, or have you ever seen a great piece of ad or a great piece of content come across your feed and ever thought to yourself, man, I wish I wrote that? Well, now you can. Inspired is your own personal marketing butler that brings you new ads and content daily based on proven viral content. So you never have to guess if it's going to work. Transform your favorite content for your own brand right now and get a 14-day free trial at getinspired.app. Rhonda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and talk all things SLO and Facebook ads.
Yes. So if you're listening right now and you have no idea what SLO means, it means self-liquidating offer. And that is essentially you're running ads to some sort of product that recoups your ad spend on day one. I love it. It's been my focus for about 5 years. Rhonda has mastered it. We already talked about other marketers that she's talked to, and they don't believe her numbers. So we're going to dive right into it, talk about what she's doing with her ads, when she spends anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 per month. So Rhonda, why don't you give us a little bit of background about your business, your offers, and we'll start there.
Well, I've been in business now for about 20 years. My first business was a really unique niche. I had a children's consignment sale, and I ran that for 17 years and did really well. If you think, I don't know, do you know what a children's consignment sale is? I know you got kids.
Yes. Enlighten me because go ahead.
Okay. Think about Target. So that was the size of my event. Okay. And then now sprinkle in Black Friday and women who like to shop. And the fact that everything that I'm selling is 70% off retail. And you got a good idea of what I did. That's really where I cut my teeth, basically on ads, cut my teeth on systems. And then the pandemic happened and it didn't matter. Like women would pay for sonograms. They would schedule their vacations around when I had my event. And they probably would have come during the pandemic as well. But I was like, obviously we can't do that. And I was entering in a different season of my life. And someone approached me and said, hey, would you want to sell your event? And I was like, yeah, because I want to see it continue into the future because we serve thousands of families and nonprofit organizations. And so I sold it. But I did a lot of my learning when it came to ads and what people responded to at my event. And I call it eye candy. And I literally could do a preview of what the event was like. And they would just came out of the woodwork to the event because it's a huge event. And so I kind of took that as I transitioned online, kind of finding my way. And I'm so practical, like I can't see the signs sometimes. And I was really good at helping people organize their businesses, like the really big overwhelm that they were feeling. And I would hold some workshops and they were just like so crazy. They were like, oh my God, you saved me 5 hours. This is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, it's a template. And I think sometimes the things that are like right in front of us that are really, really simple, we discount them. Like it can't be that easy. It can't be that simple. And so that's really kind of how it all started with my seasonal children's consignment sale all the way to now selling digital products online.
So what's the digital product? You said it's a template, but give us a little bit of overview.
You think about all the digital clutter. And a lot of times when people come to me, they think they're organized. They've got things in Google, OneDrive, Dropbox, hard drive, external drive, desktop, all of the places. This template literally puts everything in one location. And so it has expanded over the past 5 years. We've actually sold over 8,000 of these templates.
Let's go.
And Yeah, thank you. It's a Trello template. And I have 47 different categories of all of the different things that you could possibly organize your business. And that's kind of the jumping off point where I help people or get organized.
Where did the idea come from? It came from the consignment shop. Is that correct?
Well, the idea, if I'm being honest, came from so we're a military family. I didn't
Hmm.
tell you that before we started recording. We're a military family and we moved. And I went from this really big house and I had my own classroom and lots of space to 6 people and 1,000 square feet with 3 dogs. And I didn't have the luxury of having everything laid out and piles and, that type of organization. And so I literally started with digital organization all the way back with Basecamp. And we homeschooled. And so I was using Basecamp for both business organization as well as organizing the stuff for my homeschool. And then it just evolved. And I think that for me, Trello, number one, project management tool. Two, if you want to grow scale, you got to use a project management tool. You got to document your processes. And three, it's very visual. I think, especially for women, we keep everything in our heads, like the marketing plan, what's for dinner, I got to go to the vet, pick up the kids, all of the things. And so, what I really try to help people do in a very pretty way is to help get all of that out of their heads and organized into what I think is probably one of the easiest project management tools, which is Trello.
Trello is fantastic. So I've used it back in the day. It's almost like too simple. That was like one of the things that I had when I used it. It's like, oh man, this can't be this basic, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So just for clarity, who is your target audience then, for organization? Is this like targeting broad families or is it to a specific niche? Who is your target audience?
So, the data that I've collected over the years, I find that it's women who are over 40 and it's women who are juggling all the things. A lot of times it could be a transition in life that they're making and they want to transition online and start their own business. I also have women who are still currently working their 9 to 5 and just kind of starting their job. And then there are others that have just gone all in from all walks of life, from doctors, from bookkeepers, travel agents, real estate agents. I mean, you name it. Because the beautiful thing about the template is it's not niche specific. It is a way to organize all of your resources. And everyone needs to organize their resources. And so you can, and the beautiful thing too about it is that you can customize it. So again, I said initially it started in like 20 different categories and I've expanded it to like 47, which is an odd number. I think I need to go to 50. Challenge myself a little, but you can add, take away, whatever it is you need, customize whatever it is, for your specific business. And a lot of times I find like one of my most commonly asked questions, because I do weekly implementation sessions with my customers. A common question is, should I have a command center for just one for all of my businesses? And I'm like, no, there's enough difference I find between businesses that it makes sense to have one for each.
Awesome. When did this idea come about, and when did you decide to launch with paid traffic?
I've been selling the template now 5-6 years. I don't know, advanced maternal age. Like, don't put a date on it, right? But it was about 5 or 6 years ago. And originally, it was not all about the template. I was running ads to a webinar, to a program, or for a program, and I just wasn't getting any conversions. And that frustrates me. Like, I challenge myself because I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. I can figure it out. And it just wasn't working. And so one day I just got mad and I'm like, okay, they said they like this template. Let me try it. And so I used the same ad copy, little adjustment, that I was using for the webinar. And I think it was in Teachable even when I first sold it. And it was a really ugly purple landing page. I'm not a purple person. And I put $35 behind it and it started selling. And kind of like the rest is history.
What kind of ads did you run? This is what fascinates me. So the people who are listening right now, there's a lot of people who are listening right now, probably early stage of they want to run ads because they like the idea of being able to make sales on autopilot and not have to post on social media all the time. And that's basically how I've grown my business over the past 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I love these stories because I have my assumptions of what makes it work and what really gets the momentum.
Mhm.
What style of ads do you run? Meaning, are they curiosity-based ads where you just want to get the click and then lead them to the sales page and that's where you sell them? Or are you very upfront with your ad copy of like, hey, here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. If you want it, click here to buy.
The way that the ad copy for me works for this particular offer is that I really hit the pain right out of the gate and in the copy. Like, are you constantly? And I mean, I think that as entrepreneurs, we are the future version of our customers. And
Mm-hmm.
so the pain that I was feeling, juggling all the things, Daniel's deployments, my business, the kids, all of the stuff, people can relate to that. And so I think that I focused there first. And again, to be honest, like initially, like the creative and specifically the way I talk about creative is just the picture, the image was a static image.
Mm-hmm.
And the static image that I used, and they're not even in business anymore, it was this amazing mock up business. And that image, I think I told you before we hit record, I literally used that ad for 3 years, which you're
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to do, right? You're not supposed to be able to do that. But it just had this life to it. And it's pretty. And in the beginning, it was static. Now I've updated it and it's actually moving. So I have a little video that kind of moves through the template, but the copy's the same. The only thing that I've added different to the copy is I can't tell you the number of testimonials that I have from business owners who've used it. And so I sprinkle those in there as well, which I don't think you're supposed to do either. And the other thing that I say is that I get you up and running in just 10 minutes, which I literally can get you up and running in 10 minutes. Yeah. As far as strategy, I hit the pain point. I kind of took them through the transformation and what I'd share with them, and I made it pretty.
So do you reveal the offer in the ad copy itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I preach. So you are speaking my language.
Yeah.
For people who are like just trying to get an offer out there, figure out if the market actually wants it, your copy does not need to be complicated. Like I say MTDO, which is make the dang offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to do it, but so many people want to just lead with curiosity-based ads and use the sales page to sell them. That's not how I roll at all. And it's like, that's very, very challenging. It's like, treat your ads like mini sales pages and let that do the talking. So super happy for you. Talk about the image real quick, the static image, the first version, right? What was the image of?
So it was kind of a side angle inside of an office on a woman's desk because there were gold elements to it, pretty purse, a Starbucks coffee, and it was a big iMac. And I just took a screenshot of the template and put it in this mock-up and let it go.
And it worked, right? You're basically showcasing the product in some form or another, right?
It's funny. That's how it started. And the reason why I kind of like paused a little bit and stopped, I use my kids when I'm doing my advertising. So my daughter specifically, when I wanted to test out new images, I would do like 5 or 6 of them and I'd bring her in and I'm like, which ones do you like? And she would point out a couple. I'm like, okay, let's go. And then I would try and I would test those. 9 times out of 10, they would work, but it's that OG. Like I really want to replicate that again in some other way. And the advancement was it actually now scrolls. I need to start testing new angles, and I know that. So that's an area of opportunity that I have.
Awesome. Have you ever tried to scale it? Talk about scaling. Like I'm sure at some point, like, wow, I'm making money with this. I want to spend more. I want to spend more. Talk about your journey of starting to increase the ad spend and, what was happening and what were the limits that you ran into. That's what I'm most curious about right now. And probably most people are as well.
I think that there are so many mindset shifts that happen when you do this. In the beginning, when I did it and people started buying it, I'm like, do they know it's a template? They're going to realize it's just a template. And it's that kind of imposter syndrome that you start to feel like this solution is too simple. And I've actually had people copy me. And that's a whole nother podcast episode, I think. But I started selling more. And then I'm like in my inbox answering questions and doing customer service. And we hit a $30,000 month. And I was like, oh, I think I'm onto something. And then you start to worry. The next mindset issue and problem that I had was, what if my ad account gets shut down? Or what if the biggest thing was the ad account? What if the funnel breaks? Which it did. The funnel did break. And I never wish this on people, but all of those fears that you have ultimately in some way, form, or fashion are going to come true, and you're going to survive, and it's going to help you as you move into the future. So the funnel did break. I had to switch software, and I built it back, and it came back stronger than ever.
What do you mean it broke? So like the actual tech broke?
Software, yeah. I mean, let's talk about software and duct taping everything together. Yeah, it broke.
Got it. So talk about ad spend as you started to increase the ad spend,
Yeah.
right? When you first launched, what was your rough cost per acquisition? What was the price of the template, by the way?
The template's 27.
Okay.
And there are different order bumps and things and OTOs that you have available. But in the beginning, it was rounding out to about $30
to acquire a customer.
Yep.
Got it. And I'm assuming you had like order bumps and upsells and stuff to make it profitable.
Yes.
Cool.
And the thing that I offer is, and I didn't do this in the beginning, and that's interesting. I don't know if you want to talk too much about order bumps and one-time offers, like getting that stuff right is an interesting journey as well. It's almost like when you solve one problem, it really is what's the next problem that your customer is going to have. And so something, again, that's very, very simple, that's not going to work. And it works. So let me give you, for example. So we've got the template, and I had so many people that were using it. I said, what's interesting is to see someone else's take on using the template. And so I did what I called over the shoulder. And I just reached out to my customers and I said, hey, do you mind hopping on a 15-minute call with me and just sharing how you're using it? Oh, yeah, we'll do that. And I call it the snapshot. And the snapshot is how people are using the template. And that is one of my order bumps. I have another order bump that is another Trello template, and it literally organizes just everything that has to do with your social media posting. All of my things align with organization or systems. Now I actually have a recurring membership on the back end as one of my offers, and I am scaling that. So it's working.
That's awesome. Very cool. Now, as you started to spend more, what happened to your cost per acquisition? That's the easiest one to kind of like monitor. Started out around $30 per sale, right? And approximately how much were you spending per day on that?
I got originally up to about $1,000 a day when I was really scaling, like in the beginning. It wasn't that the cost per acquisition increased for me, is I had more problems with tech. And then the other thing that I really worked on was my audiences and diversifying. Like I want to diversify everything. Like I didn't want to, that ad that I had for 3 years, you're like, well, she really didn't diversify. I used just different audiences because it worked. And if it worked here, like literally, and again, people, like they say, don't do this. Like if I turn it on and I'm not getting my click-through rate of 2.5 or better, and I'm not getting a sale within the first day, I turn it off.
Yes.
And I know like people are like, but I know my customer. I've talked with my customer. I have other ways where I have collected their friction points. So I understand exactly where they are and what they're going through. And if I'm not hitting KPIs out of the gate, then it's a no-go for me.
So what are your click-through rates? So you know your KPIs. So I'm glad, because I love talking about this stuff. Many people who run, not many people, but a lot of people who run ads, they really don't know those numbers. What's your click-through rate all? Meaning like when people just stop to read the ad versus like click-through rate link.
Okay. So that number is going to be higher. The click-through rate all, so here's that. I don't pay attention to that one. The click-through rate is what I pay attention to. And it typically is like a 2.57. Yeah. I know if it's hitting that, then it's working. So nowadays when I go and I'm looking at my ads dashboard, if it's like sometimes there are anomalies. It can be like a 1.7 or 1.9, and it's like a 6 ROAS for the day, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But I know if I'm starting something new, I need to be hitting at least a 2.5 in order to start generating sales. Now, my cost per click, I feel, is too high or is higher. And I probably, if I could attack it, maybe different angles and maybe some different images, things like that, it would probably go down. But my cost per click is right at about 252. So it's a high cost per click.
Okay. Yeah. You should play in the internet marketing space a little bit longer, like in that niche of like marketing to marketers, and you would take a $2.50 click all day, every day. No,
well, that's
sorry.
great. No, that's why Onik was like, those are not your numbers. And I
Yeah,
was like, they are my numbers. He's like, no, they're not. And I'm like, well, maybe they're not because Onik says they're not. Maybe they're not. But
yeah,
I'm like, let me look at the data.
that's awesome. So when you said when you pushed it to $1,000 a day in ad spend,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really affect your cost per acquisition at all. So you were still getting $30 a sale.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic with
Mm-hmm.
one ad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me ask you, what do you think that tells you about your market?
I think that they like it, it's a whole, I'm glad you asked that question. It's like such a really good question. For me, and even now kind of trying to come up with creative, it is a look, a feel, a vibe. And it that I know that's like really hard to put your finger on. For me, that ad is the standard. And if it doesn't have, I want to feel good about my business. I want to feel pretty about my business. I want when I welcome someone in, like this is since it's all virtual and I don't have a place where someone can come in, I'm like, I want you to feel good about doing the thing that I'm telling you will help you. And I think that they like that. They want to feel pretty. They want to have that Instagram worthy, Martha Stewart perfect office. And I think the digital clutter, I think that you can do that. Over the years, I've given bonuses because I do cards for each of the lists so they can change for their brand and colors and fonts and things like that. That is really important. It's
Hmm.
branding. And I think we discount that, but I think that's why people are attracted to it. They stop. I think the picture is the first thing, and then they look at the copy, and the copy, okay, she's hitting my pain. I mean, they literally told me this. So then they click, and all I'm doing on the sales page, it has to reinforce what I've said in the copy. And if I reinforce what I've said, then they go to the checkout and game over.
Yep. Would you like some insights on what I think is happening with your market?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Of
So,
course, Joel.
not that I want to turn this into a coaching call or anything, but what I have seen time and time again are people who advertise, who market to the female audience, like women who market to women.
Mhm,
Women they buy when they feel heard and
mhm,
they feel relatable. And I think a lot of women, they will buy from men, but I think they're kind of tired of that. This is a very generic brush that I'm painting, but for
mhm,
people who are in the female space, 'cause I have a partner who's in, like, we're working on her offer, and we were getting ridiculous cost per acquisition early on, and she was marketing to women. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. I think there's a hole that is that there's a gap, a void that women love to buy from other women, and they're also rabid buyers. Like, women love to buy.
mhm,
And so you've got that going for you. Also, you have a very, very great offer. It gets people results. Like, that's a given. Like, everybody should have that. But
mhm.
you've kind of got the cherry on top, which is like, okay, cool. Like, you're going after a rabid market, and good for you. Really good for you, because those numbers are fantastic. And, like, I would venture to say, unless you're a woman selling to other women, like, good luck trying to replicate those numbers. Like, if you're a man trying to also sell to women, it's just a little bit harder for you, because I think we see a lot more male leaders and people who are on social media selling programs and whatnot. But just my 2 cents. I've seen that happen many times over.
Well, it's interesting. I could back that up with I have worked with agencies. I took my ads dashboard to what I felt like was as far as I could take it because we always think, oh, the expert knows more than I do. And I worked with an agency and it was a male run agency. And I really connected with them. I really liked them. I still like them.
Yeah.
But the results did not happen the way that I had been able to get to that point. And which put a big question mark in my mind. I'm like, well, I don't know all of everything that I need to know. I'm not doing the things right, but I know this is not the right direction. And I don't know for sure if it was because it was run by a guy, because I don't want any of that. Because
Hmm.
what's interesting is men buy my product too,
Hmm.
and they show up to the live implementation workshops. And on that first slide, I say, I help busy women. And then like Ron is in there. I'm like, and Ron too, you know?
Hmm.
So it just, I don't know. Agencies are different. I think I have always said when you were running ads, like you need to get in there and you need to understand that dashboard. You need to understand what's happening. And a slow is no joke.
Yep.
A slow is something that you got to work at for a while. And it's not like, that's not working. Let me try this offer. That's not working. You got to just go, 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 go. Because if you think about it, I mean, this slow has been running now for almost 6 years. And I'm talking with one of my ads coaches, and the way she's talking about scaling, I'm like, this is all I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on different angles of how people need to get organized and what that looks like.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that I love to analyze is just markets in general, meaning
Yeah.
my take on slows, low ticket offers is very much spend $100 and if it's going to convert, you're going to know. And
Mm-hmm.
usually you will have irrefutable data that
Mm-hmm.
tells you like, holy crap, I've got something. Like if you're at $100 and obviously you want to try a few angles and whatnot, like I'm not going to say you're going to nail it with your first $100, but like you do
Mm-hmm.
not need to spend a lot of money on ads to figure out if people actually want your product. That's the first thing. The second thing is like what I've realized is that the sales page matters a lot less than people think. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will stress over, oh, I need like the sales page has to be perfect and what's the template that I use? And I'm like, man, I have seen some of the ugliest sales pages that are basic, no testimonials, nothing. Like I got a buddy who just runs the product and like 3 bullet points underneath it and he sells his offer that way. Like that's it. It's like you can see it all above the fold. There's nothing below the fold. And all you're really trying to figure out is, do I have product market fit? Like, do people like, is this something people actually want? And you'll know very, very early on, mainly because Facebook has so much buying data on
Yeah.
who spends the money. You know, when you're first launching a campaign, they want to get you as much results as possible earlier on. And so like they're going to feed your stuff to the rabid buyers very, very early on to see if it's going to hit. And
Mm-hmm.
so use that to your advantage. Awesome. Well done. Let's end this on what are 3 mistakes that you made that you learned from? And what are 3 lessons learned that, or let's just do one. What's one big mistake that you learned? Because I'm asking you to pull out 6 things from your head, right?
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
one major mistake that you learned from with running your ads and scaling them to $1,000 a day? And then we'll end on what's one big lesson learned that you could share with the audience.
I think it was just I kept going with something and I was so rigid that it wasn't until I got really, really just ticked off because it wasn't working for me in this way like everybody else, because it's always supposed to like that same strategy, the same step by step is supposed to work for everyone. It wasn't working for me. And that was my mistake, I think, early on. Luckily, I got ticked off and I just pivoted. And the pivot, it was supported by, I had done some kind of grassroots work and workshops with people. And again, that was kind of that neon sign that I didn't see because it was so simple that all they wanted was the template.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, now, like, I would love to go to, and I've seen the Google Docs, right? That are the sales pages, make it super, super simple. Like, just giving the template. Like, that's literally all I want to give, not like all of the additional things, because the additional things are good. And I want to give those as bonuses. But really, the key, I think, to a successful slow is solving a problem in the shortest amount of steps in the shortest amount of time. And when you think 10 steps, no, they need 2. And so it's just like iteration, iteration, iteration to make it better. Like just because I started this 5 or 6 years ago, it has evolved over time. And really, like put your ear to the ground and listen to your customer. If
Mm-hmm.
it's clear to you, perfect. If it's not clear to them, not so good. And
Yep.
that's where you have an area of opportunity. The one big thing that I will say that I'm going to recommend to everyone is to think outside of the box when it comes to the customer experience after they purchase. Every single person that purchases from me gets a video welcome. They need to, what do we talk about all the time? Know, like, trust. I want them to know that there is a person on the other side of that screen that made that thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Think outside of the box in your follow-up. Think outside of the box. I have a group, and that group is all my paid buyers. I do a live implementation every single week with people who purchase. Why do I do that? Again, I want them to see me. I want them to know that it's possible. I think that a lot of times, like people, when they purchase and they scroll and are like, midnight, and they purchase it, it scratched an itch, but is it really possible for me? Can I really do this? And I think that just kind of helping that customer, I know within 48 hours, if you do what I tell you to do, you're going to have that dopamine hit, which is what we're all chasing. And you're going to be like, this thing, I can see how this is going to transform how I organize my business.
Yep.
So how are you going to stand out in the market? You're going to stand out in the market, I think, by using video, because you are the only you. And how you solve the problem is the only way that you solve that problem, right, for people. I think that's critical. And the only other thing that I will say that we kind of didn't talk about is use your ads as customer support. And what I mean by that is what my threads end up being. I love, like, there's one ad, well, the original OG had thousands of comments. The ad that I have now, I think, has like 300. But it's either from someone asking a question, so I get to pop in and I check and I respond, or somebody who's purchased my item, my template, sees it, and they come back and they share their experience.
Yeah.
That's gold. You can't pay for it. You can't. There was one recent testimonial that I'm like, he blew me. It was a guy. It blew me out of the water. I'm like, people are going to think that I paid this guy for this testimonial. I was screaming. It was so good. So really pay attention to the small things will really make a big difference.
What I tell people, that is such good advice. Such good advice. Like the treating your ad like customer support. What I have found is that your ad basically needs to be a mini sales page. Like for low ticket offers in particular, your ad should be a mini sales page. What does a sales page have? It's got your pain point, your core promise, and your offer. What does a good sales page have? Frequently asked questions. And if you're running ads on Meta or Facebook, treating that as a way to answer people's questions, like people are always going to ask questions on an ad that runs long enough. That's fantastic. Like that is so awesome. So congratulations, Rhonda. That's really, really impressive. And so what's next for you? Meaning what, you're doing like $5,000 to $15,000 a month on ads right now, right? So you're just going to keep plugging along, or what, you're going to launch a new offer, or is just going to stick with this one?
No, I think that I've reached a season in my life. So I'm a new empty nester. And so anything that I do right now is very time leveraged. And what I want to do is just grow this offer. And what I mean by that is I got to find some new angles and test some new audiences. And all of that really leads to my membership. And I love my membership. And that allows me the time freedom, because I know you're all about time freedom. That allows me the time freedom that I want so I can visit all my kids.
I love that. Rhonda, thanks for sharing. Drop some links. Where can people check you out?
I had put down the YouTube, and why is YouTube like so confusing? Like with their, like, it's not very simple, right? It's like youtube.com/@ Rhonda Melogy. I mean, that's not, that's not very, but you can find me on YouTube, or you can go to businessplanofAction.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll make it easy for people to click on those links in the show notes. Rhonda, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on unlocking true freedom with very simple paid ads and a very simple offer. Appreciate you sharing. And everyone else who's listening, if you enjoyed this episode, go reach out to Rhonda. Let her know that you heard her on Experts Unleashed, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.